Hi everybody, my name is Annalena Uribe and I am a retail specialist at the Boca Majority store in Richardson, Texas. Today we're going to be talking about the best ways to help your store manager during your designated camps. So I will be one of the 2 store managers that will be helping out with this summer's camps. Our other store manager, her name is Victoria. She's also super awesome, if not more awesome than I am. So couple of basics that we need to cover in terms of how do you help your store manager is reading the boxes and bags that we have for packing. So I have with me a sample box that we have. The gist is basically the same as what you're going to see this summer. There are going to be a couple of word or even color changes to this. So the very first item that I want to point out is this big sticker right here that says West on it. This will not say West for camps. This will either say store or admin. So it'll be a really big sticker like this saying either store or admin. And the reason for that is because once you guys arrive to the site, you'll be asked to arrive early to help the site manager and store manager unload to help start setting up. You're going to help them unload their car and truck, and you're going to be taking boxes to their designated areas. So there will be a designated area set by the site manager and store manager to be the store area, and another area for all of the admin items. So if it says store on it, you take it to the store area. If it says admin on it, you take it to the admin area, wherever that may be at each of your locations. So the next label that I want to talk about is this color-coded label right here. There will be lots of different color codes, and this is more so for the store manager to understand where things are going to go. Really, you just need to worry about this, but it may say like slat 1, slat 4, slat 7, something along those lines. It's just an easy way for the store manager to kind of tell where everything is supposed to go, because we've received lots of training on where everything should go. Everything has a place, and everything should be in its place. So another thing is we have the list of contents in here. So this is what we like to call a main box, because it is the main box for everything, but also because if you look at the contents list, there's sub-bag, 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 and there's even such thing as sub-boxes. So all of those items that are in here need to make their way in here, and we can talk about sub-bags a little bit. With the sub bags, and I'll kind of explain this too, the sub bags are going to be similar to the boxes in their formatting, so you kind of see the color-coded label with the list and whether it says display or inventory. This sticker down here will either say display or inventory, and this sticker over here will either say display or inventory. A little bit more on that later. With the sub bags, especially if you're dealing with display items, they will tell you exactly how many is supposed to go in here. The inventory items, it's more so just whatever we have. The display items will have a specific number of things that are going to go in here. So this one, for example, says 7 of 6-inch black slat wall hooks. And we can kind of talk about that in just a little bit. Let's take an inventory item, for example. We have contra bassoon reed number 2. Why is it contra bassoon reed number 2 specifically? Because every single piece of retail has a specific bag that it goes in. So this bag isn't for just all of the contra bassoon reeds. This bag will only hold contra bassoon reed number 2. This is the only thing that is allowed to go in that bag. Another really great example of this is with oboe cane. So we're not specifically taking a tube cane or English horn tube cane to camp with us, but this is just a really good example of what I'm trying to explain. So on this bag it says English horn tube cane, Rigotti, quarter pound. So the only item that is allowed to go in here is any bundles of Rigotti tube cane weighing at a quarter pound. In addition to Rigotti, we have other brands of cane that we have, like we have a vintage, we have Rigotti, I think we might even have like a Lavoro, and we have them in bundles of different weights. So because there's all sorts of different kinds of tube cane that we have available, and not just tube cane, but also other merchandise, it's super, super, super important that the only thing that goes in each bag is what is explicitly listed on the outside contents list. This will make everything so much easier. If everything is packed the way it should be in the bag and in the box that it should be, this will make everything light years easier for the people back at headquarters here in Richardson, Texas. So, only thing that should go in the bag is everything in that bag. Another item that isn't on this box specifically, but it will be there. You guys don't necessarily have to worry about this. This is just so you know it's there. There's going to be a sticker somewhere like here in like the middle area that will either say A or B. Again, you guys can ignore that. That's mostly just for the people here at headquarters. Day 0, first of all, like I said earlier, you're going to be asked to arrive earlier than any of the other staff. You guys have been specifically hired to help the site manager and help the store manager, which means getting there a little early and also leaving a little later. At the beginning of every day, and this isn't just for day 0, but at the beginning of every day, you need to arrive on time, and you cannot leave until the site manager dismisses you for the day. When you get there for day 0, the first thing that you're going to do, in addition to arriving early, I cannot stress how important that is that you arrive early. In addition to arriving early, you are going to be responsible for helping the store manager and the site manager unload their vehicles with all the stuff that they have. So there will be lots of boxes. Bags will go inside boxes, so you don't have to worry about bags all that much. It'll mostly be boxes, bassoons, oboes, any instrument really that we have that should be on display for the store. All of that needs to come in and again sent to its designated area, whether it says store or admin. So another thing that you guys will be responsible for doing, and it may not be all of the camp interns at your location, it may be like 2 or 3 of you, is setting up these yard signs that we have with arrows on them that point parents and students in the direction of where they should go to find the headquarters for that specific camp. Especially with some of the high schools, the parking lot can kind of turn into a really big maze, especially if they have like a super elaborate like bus route system that they have. So we put these signs out to make sure that people can find us in a very efficient way, so that way they're not getting lost on the first day of camp. It's super important that not only that you guys put these out so that they can be seen, please make sure that you also put them facing the correct direction, and please take note, even if it's just like a general note, of where you put each yard sign. We've had issues in years past, and I'm also guilty of this, of misplacing a sign. So when we're kind of collecting everything at the end of teardown, we have a missing sign and we just don't know where it is. Try to keep track of where you put all of your signs. Once you finish putting up all of your signs and helping unload all of the equipment, you will be assigned by your site manager to set up specific rooms. You will not touch any of the store items after they've brought in. Do not touch any of the store items or help the store manager with the setup until you have finished all assigned tasks from your site manager. The store manager has their own list of tasks that they have to take care of that only they can take care of because they've received the proper training. This includes, but is not limited to, getting on the step ladder. You guys are not allowed to touch the step ladder. Assembling or deconstructing the slat walls. You guys have not had the training for that, nor will you receive the training for that, so that responsibility lies solely with the store manager and with the site manager. Let's see. When you get to the point where you finished all of your site manager assigned tasks, it is super, super important that when you're unloading things for the store, the display items come first. So again, it'll say display, like this box says here. All of the display items have to come out and onto the slat walls first before any of the inventory items. As the name suggests, the display items are what we use to display our inventory. So display items have to come out first, so that way there's a place for us to put all of the individual inventory items. If and when you are helping your store manager unpack, it is super important that you also do not throw anything away. This is super, super important. We take great care in packaging up everything that we need for all of our summer camps to make sure that they get to their next destination without being damaged. And in order to do that, we need to use all of the supplies that we pack in terms of bubble wrap, stuffing, foam inserts, anything like that. Do not throw anything away. It does serve a purpose, and if we take it out at unpacking time, it needs to go back in when we're packing up everything at the end of the week. Everything has a purpose and it should be used. Even if there's like a rogue paper clip in a box, leave the paper clip in a box. It might have a purpose that you don't know about, and that's okay. So that pretty much covers all of setup. We're going to talk more about tear down now. So on the very last day, there will be the ending recital. You guys will be responsible for, helping set up the stage and, moving chairs around between each set and each group. After the recital concludes, you'll kind of help usher people out of the performance space, and you guys will immediately move to tearing down all of the rooms and, kind of disassembling and putting chairs back where you found them, putting stands back where you found them. You have to complete all of your site manager given tasks first before you can help the store manager tear down the store and pack everything up. Same as with setup, same as with anything that you might do throughout the week. Do what your site manager says to do first before asking the store manager if and when they need help. So, to reverse what we did with the setup in tear down, the inventory comes first, so we're going to take off the inventory from the slat walls first, and then the display items come down second. And again, with the inventory items, only the items that are listed on the outside can go in that bag. I will sound like a broken record until the day that I die. It is super important that you don't put anything else in that bag that shouldn't go in that bag. If you have a question, especially during setup or tear down, ask your store manager. Take note as to whether or not they might be in the middle of something, but if you have a question, it is always safer to ask your store manager before just automatically assuming something. We have a very complex system here, and we need you guys to help us with that system. Don't put anything in a bag if it isn't listed on the outside contents of the bag. Now with the display items, some of the display items can get a little finicky. For example, you'll have a single magazine rack, and in the box, around where the box contents are, it'll have specific instructions for how it's supposed to be packaged. So if it's a single acrylic magazine rack, it'll say wrapped in bubble wrap, and that'll probably be the only thing that goes in that box because they don't really travel well. So it's super important that we just pack only that in the box. Every single display item will, first of all, have the quantity. So just like with this bag, where we have the 7 of our 6-inch black slat wall hooks, but also how it is going to be packaged, and that's more so specifically for our acrylic display items. So another thing to note about the display items that we use, the other really finicky piece of display item that we have are our laminated signs right here. So with the laminated signs, they will be up on the slat wall, so you'll have to take them off. We use command strips for our signs. We use command strips and reusable stickies. If we have a command strip, it is super, super important that you do not pull the release tab on the command strip. If you do that, we can't reuse our command strips, and these things will be reused for forever and ever. They're still sticky even after being used. They still stick, and we'd like to keep reusing them for as long as possible. When you're taking these off the slat walls, you're going to peel them off, not yank them off or pull the tab and pull them off. You're just going to slowly peel them off, take your time, be gentle with them, and when you pack them, they should each have a pair. You may have an odd pair, we'll talk about it in a second. But with each pair, the way that you're going to pack them is, you have your sticky items on the sides, you can see right there and right there. You have your sticky adhesive pieces. What you're going to do is you're going to face them towards each other, but make sure that they do not touch. So when I stick these two together, I have a sticky down here and a sticky up here. They're not going to touch, and you're just going to press them together just like that. And this is the easiest way for them to be packed. Now let's say you have an odd number of laminated signs and you're like, well, what do I do? It doesn't have a perfect partner to go to. They're sticky on both sides, so you can just stick it right on top of the other one. And remember, peel, don't pull or pull them off, yank them off. Don't pull the release tab. We are going to reuse our command strips. And they will go in their own individual bag. They won't have like the specific sign that they should have on the bag. It'll just say like for example, like 4 of the 2x3 laminated cards. This is a 2x3 laminated card. So when we're kind of in the middle of packing everything up, you'll have, the different boxes that you're dealing with and all of the contents inside it. Once you make sure that everything is in there, you are not going to tape it. The only people that are allowed to tape up boxes are the site manager and the store manager. The reason is because the site manager and store manager have to check each box before it gets sealed up to be put on the truck. If you have quadruple checked a box to make sure that everything is in there and everything is in there, that's awesome. Let your store manager know, or if they're busy, just say, hey, I moved a box over to the done pile for your review. You can make a done pile for your store manager, so that way they know, okay, I have a whole pile of boxes that I need to review before they get taped up, because I'm the only one that can tape them. Your store manager and site manager are the only ones that can tape up boxes. So after all of the boxes have been taped and we're getting ready to load the van, you cannot leave until the van or car or whatever vehicle it is completely loaded up with all of the items that we brought. This also includes the yard signs that you guys put out earlier, all of the store items, all of the admin items. Everything that we brought needs to come back with us. You cannot leave early. Everything has to be loaded, and your site manager will formally dismiss you and say, thank you for a great week. You guys are formally dismissed, or you guys are free to go, or something along those lines. We need your guys' help. We have hired you so that way you can help us have a super successful camp, and we really want to make sure that you guys are contributing to the efficiency of how we run our camps. We are super excited to have an awesome summer working with you guys. Today we're going to be talking about some of the icebreaker games that you guys can play with the students, either on their very first day of camp while they're in the middle of registration, we're kind of waiting for kids to arrive, or you could even play some of these games during the break times that they have throughout the week. You should certainly invite them and encourage them to join in on the icebreaker game with the camp interns and the other students that are playing, but don't force them if they're not 100% comfortable. There are some students that have made it known to our staff that they're not the most social, and sometimes it takes them a little while to adjust to their surroundings, especially if it's a very new environment with new people that they've probably never even met before. So just remember that some kids are not as social as others, and that's completely okay. Again, you should encourage and invite them, but don't force them to join in on the icebreaker games if they don't want to. You need to be able to trust the students in that they know their own social limits. So with that being said, let's go ahead and move on to start to talk about the first icebreaker game. The first icebreaker game that we have is called This or That, and it's a really, really simple game in which you essentially pose a question with 2 possible answers. If you want the kids to, get moving a little bit, you can have the kids move to each side of the room that has the answer to the question that they most agree with. So for example, if I were to say, do you prefer waffles or pancakes? If you prefer waffles, stand on this side of the room. If you prefer pancakes, stand on this side of the room. The kids will separate, and then you can allow for about maybe 20 seconds for like a nice discussion. We don't want there to really be a lull in the icebreaker games. We want to keep the kids nice and engaged and keep the ball rolling and keep the game going. So again, 20 seconds for a little discussion period, and then you can say, okay, everybody, back to the middle or whatever. And then you can say, okay, pose your next question. So then you could say something like, does pineapple belong on pizza? If you think pineapple does belong on pizza, you can stand on this side of the room. If you don't think pineapple belongs on pizza, you can stand on this side of the room. And again, discussion period, and just kind of keep going on. Our next game is something called Hot Seat. If you guys have ever played the game Heads Up, like on your phone, or like if you ever, the game where you have your phone up here and it's like, oh, if you get it right, you go forward, back. Kind of the same concept. So we're going to have flashcards for you guys. So each of them will kind of be in their own little stack for categories. I think the categories that we have, let's see, they're going to be animals, movies, acted out, so no words, only actions, foods, celebrities, and songs. We tried to keep them very relevant to this day and age. So try and stick with what we have. So in essence, you'll pick one student to be in the hot seat, and you as a camp intern will kind of hold these flashcards above the student's head to where they can't see but everyone else in the room can see. And the object of the game is to try and get the crowd to describe the word on the flashcard so the student in the hot seat can guess what the word is or what the topic is. Biggest rules is that the crowd can't say anything that has the word in it. So if the word is like bumblebee, I can't say, oh, it's a type of bee, because it says bee, which is already up in the word that you're trying to get the person to guess. I would limit each round to about 1 minute for a time limit, just so that way you can kind of cycle through a bunch of the different topics and items that we have, in addition to giving as many kids a turn as possible. So again, stick with what we have. We'll have the flashcards ready for you guys if you do decide to play this icebreaker game with the kids. All right, the next game is going to be 2 truths and a lie. So this one isn't as active. In essence, you're going to give the kids maybe like 2-3 minutes to each individually come up with 2 truths and a lie. Then once everybody kind of has a good idea on what their 2 truths and a lie is, you're going to have kids come up one by one, present 3 statements, 2 of which are going to be a truth and a lie, and see if everybody else can guess what the lie is. And you just kind of cycle through kids once everybody figures out what the lie is for each individual student. The next game is called Zip Zap Zup. This takes a little bit of explaining, but this has been a really popular game. I remember playing this game when I was at the local majority camps. So you're going to have everybody circle up in the room, everyone who wants to participate, and you're going to have one person begin the sequence of words, and this is the sequence of words. It's zip, zap, zup. So we'll say student A begins, they'll point to another student and go zip. Student B, the person that they pointed to, will point to another person and say zap. Student C, the person that was just pointed to, will point to another person and say zup. This 3-word sequence continues and continues until it starts to slowly speed up, especially if the kids get really anxious and really antsy. They can speed up, and if they speed up fast enough, you're eventually going to get to the point where people will get eliminated because they either get tongue-tied or there's a break in the sequence somewhere. Now, if a student does get eliminated, not to fret, they aren't completely eliminated. What they then get to do is they get to hang around the outside of the circle and try and mess other people up that are still playing within the circle. It can get pretty competitive. This is a pretty fun one. I've seen kids go pretty crazy with this, so it's pretty cool. The next game is going to be the question swap. So we're going to have cards with different questions on them, and each student is going to get 1 card with a question. Once each student has their card, they're going to pair up with another person and ask each other the questions that they have on their respective cards. Once they're done talking to each other and answering their questions and talking for a little bit, those 2 students are going to swap cards. They're going to raise their hand and look for another person who's raising their hand once they're done with their group, and they're going to start swapping. Every time that they finish answering the question prompt with their partner, they're going to swap cards and then go find another person. Swap cards, go find another person. This is a really great way for the kids to start learning more about each other. We have all sorts of questions that we're going to have for you, again, on these little flashcard type things that we'll have for you. So some of them are, what food do you dislike? Or if you have a pet, can you tell me about your pet? Or what would be your dream pet if you don't have a pet? Different ones like that. And again, we'll have the supplies provided for you in order to play the question swap and the hot seat. Another really great game that you guys can play is just a good old-fashioned rock, paper, scissors tournament. Best to do this individually, so as the name states, it's like, you just have the kids pair up, play rock, paper, scissors. Winner goes on to play the next winner. Winner goes on to play the next winner until there's, the grand rock, paper, scissors champion. Super easy game. Again, we'll have the materials for you, and we hope that you guys are looking forward to playing some of these icebreakers with the kids.